morning, everybody, and welcome to Laguna Seca as we take on the latest round in the Radical Esports Cup. This is week 8 of season 2 of 2026, and we bring to you live the 2100 GMT broadcasted split here live on iRacing and Raceway TV's YouTube channels. I'm Ewan Leary alongside Joe Gregory here tonight with Ramiro Augustin Cisneros behind the cameras. Joe, good to have you alongside me again. It comes at a point in the season where there's a lot of similar circuits to this one, tight and technical racetracks, and that certainly falls into the category for Laguna Seca as well.
Yeah, it really does. And Laguna, a lot tougher, Ewan, than it looks on paper, and really calls on these drivers to show everything that makes an excellent Radical driver. You have to be really good on the brakes. You have to be patient on the power, and you have to really be precise, threading the needle between some of these anti-cut curbs to be at the pointy end of this field. It is a fantastic track. Just returned from here at the IMSA weekend last weekend, so I'm anxious to see these SR10s out here in Monterey Bay.
Indeed, going to be an exciting watch tonight. As I say, it comes at a point in the season where we've got this type of racetrack really week after week after week, or at least we have since VIR. That was on the 17th of April. I'd say Brands Hatch and Garing, Laguna Seca broadly fitting into that similar category. But a couple of Grand Prix circuits to come after this. Silverstone next week, the Circuit Jules Verne of the week after that, before we go to the Nordschleife, which used to be our traditional finale. Now we see it every season in some other different places, or most seasons anyway. The Adelaide Street Circuit is our finale on June the 5th this time around. In terms of the iRacing official standings, James Barry is leading the way by 111 points, but as we were talking to him last week, he's pretty sceptical about his chances of actually winning the whole thing. We'll see how that stacks up in 5 weeks' time. Sometimes drivers like to lie or be a little bit reserved with the truth. Havok Gullikson is in second place, about 50-odd points ahead, 55 points ahead of Heinz Braun. George Gonzaga and Andre Castro not that far away either. Castro will, I think, be climbing some places in the next few weeks. Get to Larson 6th ahead of Sebastian Lipp with Peter Eveny, Ollie Gullikson and Enrico Trenchi, really quite a few hundred points away from the top of the standings. In the Racesport TV standings, made up of just races that we've broadcasted here on Friday nights, Andre Castro added to his championship lead last week with his 5th victory of the season at the Hungaroring. That's in front of Havok Gullikson, who's 23 points behind. James Barry then in third, ahead of Sebastian Lipp, Heinz Braun, running at the top 5. Peter Eveny, George Gonzaga, Ketil Larson ahead of Gal Valero, who's still only been at one round and won it. He's in ninth ahead of Dennis Kyriakopoulos, who rounds out the top 10 with 3 top 10 finishes to his name this season. Just after 8 o'clock in the morning here on the 9th of May, tomorrow's date, so around this time of year, but early in the morning. So like much of these races are indeed in the Radical Esports Cup, so no scorching temperatures. It is sometimes something to worry about round here, JL, the scorching temperatures, because you can see the sandy, the side of the racetrack, that doesn't come out of nothing. It is a very warm place sometimes, but we're racing early enough in the morning, as most of these Radical Esports Cup races tend to be, for that not to be a problem. And it really is just the layout that I think these guys have got to be ultra focused on to tackle here tonight.
Yeah, too right. And as you say, the drivers typically get a break on the track temperatures out here, but you saw that humidity above 70, a little on the high side here with that marine layer breathing in and out of Monterey Bay. So that can tend to make it a little bit greasy out here. But overall, as I said, this track's so well suited to this car and really well suited to trail braking. So if you're looking to learn how to do that, this is a great car to learn how to trail brake in, and this track really rewards talent on the brakes, and managing the brake balance throughout the race very critical as well to keep that rotation under brake and going.
As Dennis Kyriakopoulos going over the line, we'll see if he improves from there. Perhaps not. Jake Williams towards the top once again here. James Barry not going to be getting over him there with that lap time. He's got the number 1 on his back here, which is always a bit of a target to have in any iRacing session, as we all know. But what about Jake Williams we've seen this season? Haven't seen too much of him in the Radicals prior to now. But I mean, what a season he's had in terms of making a bit of a noise and making ripples in the Radical races. He's not yet in the top 10 in our standings, really waiting for that breakthrough race. He did get a podium at Brands Hatch. Will tonight be his night, I wonder? He takes the pole here at Laguna Seca by 29 thousandths of a second ahead of James Barry, with Howard Gullickson and Peter Eveny on row 2. Rafa Blanco is in 5th, ahead of a great performance from Jarrett Dunkovic in 6th. George Gonzaga and Ketil Larson on row 4 in front of Dennis Kiriakopoulos and Robert Woodward, who's inside the top 10 here. Paki Caruso's 11th in front of Chris Wetz. Samir Kadura and Kea Ere Elderson on row 7 in front of a disappointed Heinz Braun, I'm sure, in 15th place. Menno de Graaf, Chris Roberts and Ryan Stringer, the only one to not set time. They round out the field. Yeah, what a performance from Jake Williams. Pole position here tonight at Laguna Seca. Let's see if he can convert it to what would be a fantastic race victory for him.
Yeah, it'd be very interesting to see what Jake does this time. And I note that Andre Castro not on the grid, and Jake might have been looking forward to some more quality time with Andre after that incident at Spa. Just to stir the pot.
Sure, yeah. I'm not sure Castro described it as quality time. I can't remember what he said. Yes, that was an exciting race, to say the least. This race, I get the feeling, is going to be slightly different to that, not least because Castro is not here today, as you say. Unfortunately, I don't know where he is, actually. He told us last week. I think he's doing wherever TC America are this weekend. I think he is doing that instead. I forget where he said he was, though, in somewhere in America, but that doesn't narrow it down. He's doing TC America somewhere in the world, so there you go. But it is Jake Williams here today, and he is on the pole as well. What an opportunity for him. Let's see if he can go on and win it. What a performance that would be as the lights go on here at Laguna Seca. We're ready for racing again. Green light, and what a great start that is from 3rd for Gullickson. He's going to be boxed in there a little bit on the inside line. Where does he go? Oh, he switches from one side to the other. He gets past Barry and then switches to the outside. Almost 3 wide coming in towards turn 1, but Williams able to hold on to the lead. Barry's forced to fight with Peter Eveny for 3rd place. He can't even hold on to a top 3, can he, Barry? Oh, he has just got up in front there of Peter Eveny. He has held a top 3 position at least, but it wasn't a good launch off the line from him. It was a great one for Howard Gullickson, though, who's up into 2nd position.
Yeah, great work there by Gullickson. These cars do have manual clutches. The drivers you see at the point end of this field have their bite points and everything set to get them off the line. No traction control, ice cold tires, so it can be tricky to get them moving, but a great effort there by Gullickson, and that will put him behind Jake Williams with a pretty a gap beginning to grow here already. It's already 4 tenths.
Oh, goodness me! A huge accident over the top of the hill, and Ketil Larson's involved. It's at the corkscrew as you double back on yourself there. Someone's come unstuck before the braking zone and careered into a driver further up the field. That is disastrous. We'll have a look and try and unpick what happened in a few moments' time, but that was massive. Ketil Larson's definitely involved in dropping down the field very quickly. Here comes Dunkovic, meantime, on Peter Eveny. He had a good start initially, Peter Eveny, but now Dunkovic is on his way through, and he's into the top 4 now. Jarrett Dunkovic with a brilliant start. He is up positions, but he's gone wide, very wide at the hairpin. Even he gets that position back, and Rafa Blanco gets through on him as well.
Yeah, I see Dunkovic dropping a couple of spots there as well. So a lot of shuffling here early, only lap 2. Tires not completely up to temp. And, you know, when you're in heavy traffic like this, you know that your grip isn't as good as it's going to be later, but you also know that you're in very tight traffic that's going to spread out throughout the course of the race. Can be an opportunity, and we're seeing some movers and shakers here, and dying to see what happened to Larson. That was a big accident, and I have a funny feeling that Caruso may have been involved in that as well, as we watch him go up the hill.
So, how does this actually even happen? Caruso's on. Oh no, he's just got the. Wow! So there wasn't even any contact before he got on the brakes there. He just got that wrong. And on the inside, I mean, it's a helpless feeling when you know you've broken too late and you know you're going to hit someone. It's a helpless feeling, but that doesn't do much for Larson, who's in the pit lane now and will be for some time. I mean, nobody to blame other than Caruso really there, and it's a shame because it was just an honest mistake. There wasn't any contact which forced him into Larson or whatever, just an honest mistake, but with massive consequences.
Yeah, probably the second toughest area on the track. I'm going to say that turn 6, that left-hander up the hill, is the hardest corner, but that braking zone, entering into the corkscrew, you're applying maximum brake pressure, then you've got to release pressure over the crest as the car gets light. Caruso, the minute the lockup starts in these cars, you know it's over, and Caruso became a passenger at that point. So very, very easy mistake to make. Even watched a few pros do it over the last weekend. Very tough spot.
Yeah, indeed. It's a difficult part of the racetrack, that run through turn 6, and then on your way through the rail straight towards the corkscrew. It's certainly the most famous section of corners on this racetrack, no doubt about that. The plunge downhill. On board with Gonzaga as he comes through that. Just in behind Jack Dunkovic, the only American on home soil here tonight in this field. Mostly other Europeans, apart from Rafa Blanco. But on board with Gonzaga, putting the pressure on Dunkovic here. We've got Kirikopoulos behind us as well here, but he's a teammate with Gonzaga, so they'll be a little bit friendly to each other, one would hope, as they come over the line to complete the third lap of this race. Early on, it looked like Gullickson was really putting the pressure on Williams at the top of his screen, but that pressure is alleviating as Jake Williams is beginning to run away, and Dunkovic gets the hairpin wrong for the second time in 4 laps, and this time it's Gonzaga looking to take advantage. Heinz Braun can watch it going on in the distance as Dunkovic holds the inside line coming into the next turn, and he holds the position as well. Braun goes wide, allowing Woodward through. It's all happening. It looks like the braking zone for the hairpin is proving to be one of the more difficult corners on this racetrack for this field.
Yeah, very tough. And as I said, this track throws absolutely everything at you that's required to be a good driver in one of these radicals. In that braking zone into turn 2, the Andretti hairpin, very, very difficult. Dunkovic just drug a tire just for a moment, was enough to cause him to wash out and allow the competitor through there. So very, very tough spot. And at the other end of that straightaway, you got to be very careful putting the power down. So you get the accelerator test on one end of the straight, the brake test on the other end, and it never stops coming at you here at Laguna Seca.
No, it doesn't. It is. It's pretty relentless round here. Over the start-finish line again for lap 4. Now, can Jack Dunkovic get it right this time, coming in towards the hairpin? Because, as I say, 2 out of 4, he's gone wide so far. Cost him 2 places on one occasion, and on the previous, well, one of those 4 occasions, it was the opening lap, so it was a little bit of a different scenario. But there we go. He's got it down now towards the apex, and that was nicely done as he holds off Gonzaga and Kirikopoulos. You know, we've seen him in many radical sim racing in the past, whether it be in the America's Championship, which is on some Sunday nights on Racebot TV, or whether it be here in the Radical Esports Cup on Friday nights. I would say Dunkovic is maybe slightly ahead of where he normally is in terms of field. I mean, look at his number as well in terms of his iRacing standing as well. He's certainly advanced to where he should be, but this is a good result for him at the moment, holding on to 6th position and keeping Gonzaga and Kirikopoulos behind him as well is no mean feat. So it's been a good start to the race for him, even despite those couple of errors.
Yeah, Dunkovic looking very good here and getting his seat time in. That America's Championship race will be this Sunday here at Laguna Seca, so keep an eye on RaceSpot for that. If you enjoy this radical race, we'll have a couple more for you out here on Sunday. And as I said, yeah, Jarrett getting his seat time in and looking good, driving pretty deep into this very, very high I-rated field. So cheers to him for that.
Yeah, double header of radical sim racing races this weekend in the European and America series. European racing starting at 9 o'clock Central European time. That's 8 in the UK and 3 in the East Coast of America. And just about 3 hours after that broadcast finishes, we'll be live with the America's Championship for those of you a little bit further in the Western Hemisphere. Maybe a bit friendlier of a time on Sunday evening. Yeah, unusual to have a double header, but that's what we've got coming up on Sunday night. Most of these drivers will be participating indeed as well, so we'll see some familiar names. Here's Gullickson on the bottom of your screen. Now, over a second behind Jake Williams, who's running away with the race. James Barry in 3rd, just in behind. Putting that pressure on for now, and on the top of your screen, Dunkovic holding on as well. So now we're starting to settle in, and this is where, you know, Laguna Seca, for all its technical challenge when you're a driver, this is where it can be a little bit of a difficult watch, because it can be very difficult to actually make a pass as well. But both of these 2 drivers in behind on the inner racing team are working on this move at the moment.
Yeah, and there are not a lot of opportunities out here. Laguna Seca really about getting into a rhythm, applying pressure, and pouncing on mistakes, obviously, with the exception of right here, as we watch Gullickson get pressured a little bit behind, from behind by Barry. Barry's got that gap down to about 3/10, and oof, and the battle continues. That is, my goodness, Dunkovic and Gonzaga, I think there.
Yeah. Gonzaga going down the inside. It was a very narrow line there as Dunkovic sort of pulled it over, but he did leave a car's width on the inside, which Gonzaga rather took on the inside briefly. Dunkovic able to hold on though, and in a poor exit off of the turn, Gonzaga actually passed by Kyriakopoulos as well. So Dunkovic with a new driver to defend from, and this is always a difficult scenario to be in if you're Dunkovic here, because you're defending off two drivers. There's Gonzaga sort of tied up on the inside. Is there going to be contact? Oh, there was a little bit, so that's why Gonzaga's run was halted, but they were on a collision course there, really. When you're both braking as late as possible and you're both on different lines coming towards the hairpin, there's bound to be a little bit of rubbing.
Yeah, some great camera work there by Ramiro, our producer. You saw that side-to-side contact. You saw the quick hands there by Gonzaga to catch that slide and save that one. That one could have been much, much worse. But from George's perspective, let his teammate Denis through. And as you said, now it is Denis Kyriakopoulos that's going to try Dunkovic. And as we look back up front to Gullickson and James Barry, and you know Jake Williams is enjoying seeing these two pressure one another as he extends his gap further, 1.4 this time around for Williams up front.
It's a fantastic run for him this season already in our broadcasted races. He's been on the podium once. That came at Brands Hatch with a third place run. He limped home to 10th at that race at Spa you referenced earlier on, an extraordinary race between himself and Andre Castro that ended in a bit of contact and ended with a few choice words at the end of the day as well. But those two have been kept separate since then. In these Friday nights, at least as far as winning battles are concerned. On that day at Brands Hatch, Andre Castro wasn't here either, so he has had sporadic appearances so far this season, Castro, but he's still going to be leading the Racesport TV standings at the end of this round, even as it is right now, because Gullickson wouldn't be gaining quite enough points, although he would be getting a little bit closer to Castro in our standings. Gullickson and Barry pass another lap car there. There's a couple of them now. Ray Elderson and Ketil Larsen still running, despite being at least a lap down each. Menadograph, Paki Caruso and Sami Kadura all seem to be out of the race. On board with Gonzaga, on the way towards the hairpin. Is there going to be a dive? He looked like he was approaching, and he wanted to go for a big move down the inside. He has made one, and he's made it work as well. So Gonzaga returns to 7th after that small error that put him back behind Kyriakopoulos. He's back ahead of his teammate now with a daring late braking maneuver.
Yeah, that was tough stuff by George there. Braking downhill right there. Remember, these cars, no anti-lock brake, so takes a lot of bravery, and you saw the respect and good car control between those two drivers as they went through the Andretti hairpin side by side. But George now has his sights on Dunkovic in that gap, about 5/10, as Dunkovic appearing to be the gap or the cork in the bottle right now. He's got about 3 seconds between Dunkovic ahead to Blanco and P5.
Menadograf's back in the race, by the way, but unfortunately this is the trouble that saw him out of the race. That's contact with Ere Elderson, who's also dropped a lap since the incident. They both had to go into pit lane for repairs. So Elderson was in there for a minute and a half, sorry. De Graaf for 3 minutes. De Graaf's 3 laps down, Elderson 2 down. Ketil Larsen after 2.5 minutes in the pit lane is 2 laps down. There's Elderson struggling back with the damage. Gullickson on the defensive then, into the Andretti hairpin with James Barry right behind him. The pressure really now getting to him and really allowing Jake Williams to run away with this race. But the debate as to who's going to finish in second place is raging on and will continue too.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see what Barry does here. We've been watching him over many seasons here in the Radical Esports Cup. And one thing I've noticed about Barry, he's always had the racecraft, the patience, and the intelligence on track, but the aggression from Barry has been creeping up a little bit as he gets a little more serious about defending his past titles. And it'll be interesting to see where he decides to attack. Will he make a move here at the top of the corkscrew? Will he make that dive into turn 2 or turn 3 rather? It'll be interesting to see. Plenty of time left for Barry to make something happen here.
There is. That is one thing he absolutely has on his side. 8 laps remaining. Very much in his favour. Gullickson will be wishing these laps away at the moment as these two big rivals for the iRacing standings as well, by the way, go into battle. Gullickson not that far behind James Barry, certainly in terms of corrected order. Barry believes he's got some work to do this season to get himself up the, well, keep himself at the top of the standings, I should say, because of the way that the drop rounds work. Here comes Gonzaga. He was late braking on his teammate Kiriakopoulos into the hairpin. Now he does it on Dunkovic. A little bit less forgiving, of course, for the American. These two not teammates. Oh, and he's trying to scare him away there. Dunkovic, though, back down the inside. Has he gone too deep? Because Gonzaga turns underneath him there and might force another defensive shape out of him towards turn 4. Not quite. Hit through the right hander they go, and Gonzaga goes slightly wide. Is that the end of his chance? Is he going to have to go defensive? It does look like it, or is that an attack? It might be half of each. He looks to the inside of Dunkovic again. Now he's on the defensive for sure, with Kiriakopoulos just breathing off the throttle and let him back in the train again. This pressure is mounting, and Gonzaga succumbs to it. He goes off into the gravel this time. He runs wide. Dunkovic survives again. Kiriakopoulos is back into 7th position.
And Dunkovic with ice water in his veins there. He knew that he had had problems in that Andretti hairpin with lockups. Might have been a little timid on the brakes. Let Gonzaga get next to him, but kept fighting and ultimately hung on to that position. Great driving by Dunkovic as he's still clinging to that P6. And definitely the cork in the bottle, as you see off in the distance. That's Blanco still driving off, although that gap has, or no, the gap has increased actually about 4.5 seconds now.
Indeed, the top 5 are away. I'll be surprised if anybody drops out of it unless there's some big issues. Gullickson is still ahead of James Barry. Jake Williams just had 1 or 2 connection problems actually on the last lap, or was it the one before, but thankfully those have stabilised and he's still leading here. The more though that Gullickson and Barry battle, Peter Evany might be able to get involved. We'll see if he can close before the final laps, but only a third of this race remaining when we get to the line. It's flew by once again in another week of the Radical Esports Cup. They so often do. 6 laps to go at the end of this one. I've got to say, Gullickson is looking comfortable at the moment, but just takes one moment of magic from James Barry, and suddenly that comfortability can go downhill very quickly. There's a race on here for second, and as I say, these two are fighting for the overall iRacing standings and can't really afford to give up many points to each other, especially when the time slots are so valuable in terms of the iRacing standings. This is one of the most valuable time slots of the Radical Esports Cup on a Friday night, and Barry wants to win those points. He gets to the outside. Gullickson defends pretty comfortably there again, though.
Yeah, you see Barry going wide on the first part of that hairpin, trying to diamond off the second part. And, you know, this is James Barry, the little professor at work. He will size you up, try different approaches, show his nose in different areas to gauge your reaction. And he's planning the end game right now. I promise you that. And some great camera work here. That super tough turn 5. Watching Barry chasing down Gullickson, and I'll tell you, Ewan, after being at the track this weekend, there was such an amazing outpouring of love and respect for Alex Zanardi throughout the weekend, who had a huge moment right here at the top of the hairpin, and it makes me wonder if anybody wants to try to make that move happen during the course of this one.
Well, it would be special to see. Oh, as Gonzaga gets back past Kiriakopoulos, and now let's see. Oh no, he's gone off. He's gone off. He might have been trying a move at the corkscrew there, and he's going to let Heinz Braun through as well. Woodward is not going to be far away. He's going to get involved now, and Gonzaga's chances of finishing ahead of Dunkovic surely now are over. As Braun goes wide in sympathy, does Gonzaga respond with a dive down the inside? No. He's going to switch underneath Heinz Braun now, and surely get a better run coming onto the front straight. The battle for second is stable at the moment. The battle's behind, certainly not. Here comes Gonzaga again. He's on the outside, long way round, but he's going to brake late enough to make this work, is he? He keeps it tight to Braun, who holds that inside line. Gonzaga can't stay alongside. He's jumped to the outside. Woodward doesn't want to force the issue and stays back in 10th. Gonzaga drops now to 9th position after searching for positions as high as 6th in this race.
What an attempt right there by George. It was not a high percentage move, but he definitely was game and almost got that one done. But Braun, as we've seen week in and week out, a very stout defender. But Braun has got to know that that one is not over. And here's a replay of Jorge Gonzaga, and that was the Zanardi move right there. Doesn't quite get it done, goes a little too wide through the bumps there, but holy cow, right after I said it, there it was. So cheers to you, George, and sorry that one didn't work out, because you certainly had a crack at it there.
He certainly did. Now he's resigned himself, though, to I think 8th place at best here. I'm not sure he's even going to be able to get on terms with Kyriakopoulos now. Here comes Barry having a look down the inside. That was only a small look. He can't get it done quite. He turns underneath Gullikson again there and forces him on the defensive towards turn 3. Now then, he's got him into a position we've not seen for a while. Barry gets alongside. Does he in time for turn 4? They're giving each other a lot of room. They are desperate not to make contact, these two. It's allowing Peter even though to catch up even more than he was before. The battling between these two just slows them down. And so even he's going to be a factor in this race very shortly, but Barry was not his usual self there. It didn't seem to me, trying to get through Gullikson. Both of them, in fact, look, they were giving each other a mile of room when normally you see them absolutely door to door.
Yeah, they absolutely are. Gullikson, though, I'm going to say is going pretty defensive on all of these corners. Barry definitely influencing his line selection and what that does to you. And even if you don't get the pass done, if you force those shallow entries, that's going to put more heat in Gullikson tires than Barry, and that could give Barry a grip advantage down the stretch when it really matters. And there's Barry with his nose inside again. Oh my goodness, and this is reminiscent of Porsche versus Acura Sunday afternoon. And JR was sitting right there. It was epic.
Here comes Barry again. Late braking on the outside of the hairpin, but Gullikson blocks that one off. Puts his car effectively just in the way there. Nothing more than that. And Barry can't get himself through, but even he now really throws a spanner into the works here, because he's been lurking behind. I don't think he's as quick as these two quite, but now that they're fighting, he's very much here, and something extra for Barry to think about, which is maybe going to help Gullikson in all of this, really. The fact that Barry is now attacking and defending.
Yeah, and Evany's fast lap is actually between these two. Gullikson, the slowest of the three, followed by Evany and Barry. So Evany definitely is going to be game here and is in the catbird seat. He could end up in P2 theoretically if something goes wrong between these two. So Evany has put himself in a fine position. You see him there in the lower right. That great camera work by producer Ramiro showing his in-car, looking ahead at Barry, chasing down Gullikson, and that gap growing a little bit this time, Jake. That gap between Gullikson and Barry up to about 7/10. I called you Jake again. It's you, and of course.
That's all right. I'll take it. 2 laps to go as they come over the line. Jake Williams has got this out front, but who has got second? Well, one of these three, you'd think, but in which order are they going to finish? Heinz Braun, George Gonzaga and Robert Woodward are not that far apart either on the run down towards turn 1. Gonzaga hasn't been this close for a while, and he's on the inside again. This is almost what he did to Dunkovic earlier, but this time Heinz Braun makes an error. He's off into the grass and the sand in the outside of the corner. He is gone from the top 10. That was Gonzaga effectively forcing that error at Heinz Braun, looking in the mirrors instead of looking for his braking marker, goes deep and drops to 11th.
Yeah, I think that one caught Heinz by surprise, forced him to take a very shallow entry, and obviously too fast to take that shallow entry into the hairpin, and off he goes into the dirt, and that's going to cost him. So, like we were talking about, maybe not a huge passing track, but definitely a track where you can apply psychological pressure from behind, force the air, and George caused Heinz to go off right there into the dirt.
Absolutely. And drops outside the top 10, does Heinz Braun with it. White flag will be getting readied at the moment. As James Barry is getting further and further away from Gullikson. Jake Williams is getting further and further away from the rest of this field. It's going to be his first win on Friday nights here in the Radical Esports Cup. And a brilliant victory it's going to be for him as well. Looks like Gullikson's going to hang on to second place, I say. James Barry just dropping away at the end here. And Peter Evany with a 4th position. But what a great drive from Jake Williams. Haven't been able to speak about him too much in the race. But yeah, a brilliant first win, surely on its way.
Yeah, Williams looking good, and you mentioned it before, Ewan, that this is the pot of gold for the Radical Esports Cup 2100 GMT every Friday. Broadcast on a couple of YouTube channels, and the winner of these races is netting a huge jackpot of season points, and as it is week in and week out. So Jake is definitely going to cash in on this one, and it does look like Barry has kind of given up right now. And look at Ivani starting to reel in James Barry here on the white flag lap. Not enough time left probably to do anything, but Barry has definitely given up on pressuring Havard any further.
Looks like it, as out of the final corner will come Jake Williams. He wins at Laguna Seca in the Radical Esports Cup. Week 8 is his first week winning here on Friday evenings, and what a victory it is as well. He gets ahead of Gullikson and Barry and Ivany, who their battle settled towards the line there, as it is actually for 8th position. George Gonzaga holding on nicely ahead of Robert Woodward here by about 3/10 of a second or so. As Jake Williams pulls to a stop, very pleased with his evening indeed. A full load of points for him, and there's the battle over the line for Woodward and Gonzaga. They were entertaining throughout the race as well, but end up finishing in 8th and 9th position. Could have been more for Gonzaga today, in all honesty. But Jake Williams wins in front of that battle between Gullikson, Barry and Ivany. Rafa Blanco rather on his own there, really, towards the end. Top 5 position for him. Jack Dunkovic finishes in 6th. Denis Kyrgiopoulos holds off George Gonzaga, Robert Woodward, and Chris Wetz, who was able to get to the podium, get to the top 10 at the end there with that race finish. Heinz Braun next ahead of Ryan Stringer, we didn't see too much of. He gets to 12th ahead of Chris Roberts. Ketil Larsen dropped 2 laps there in his crash. Mene de Graaf dropped 3. Kai Ere Elderson had another incident after the previous one, drops to 16th. Same Kadura and Paggy Caruso only made a couple of laps. Well, what a great race that was. I'll say sometimes it's difficult to overtake at Laguna Seca, but just feel on occasion that the fact that these cars are a little bit smaller maybe than some others really does help them at a circuit like this, because it makes a narrow circuit like Laguna Seca not feel quite as narrow, but still certainly as challenging.
Yeah, and so fast around here, folks. I'm going to beat a dead horse, but this Radical SR10, over 400 horsepower, 1,000 pounds lighter than an MX-5 Cup car, and lap records. We saw almost these Williams get into the 116s. That would be 3 seconds faster than the current GT3 record set last year by a Huracan Evo. So these things are fast, very well suited to this track, and great racing here today. And a shout out to Dunkovic, who's going to get Defender of the Day for taking relentless pressure from numerous drivers throughout that one. I loved seeing him hang on to P6.
Yeah, he did do very well indeed. Let's chat to a couple of drivers, though, who were on the podium, starting with Havard Gullikson, who can join us now. Havard, welcome in. Good to have you with us, and congratulations on a second-place run there, because you had to do some defending in that race. Just tell us about the battle between yourself and James Barry, and later the Peter Ivany as well.
Yeah, real happy with P2. It was fighting from lap 1. James Barry was really quick, and yeah, we had a really good fight. No problems, no idiot driving, just respect, and yeah, I enjoyed it, although I'm a bit sweaty, but thank you, James, for the good fight.
I can imagine, certainly. What about the overall season? Because there's 4 weeks to go now after this one. As we looked at the standings just before we came live here, you're 111 behind James Barry, but as we know, even at this stage in the season, sometimes hard to tell who's going to be where by the end. But what do you make of your chances of the iRacing overall standings this season, and how close you can get to that title, maybe?
It's difficult to say. Andre Castro has won all the races he has participated in, I think. So if he will compete in 8 rounds total, he will clearly win. But I think I have maybe a small gap on James, because I think I have 1 round less or something to him. But it's more rounds to go, so we'll try our best and just see. Yeah.
Yep. We will indeed. We'll hopefully see you on Sunday night, but if not, then next Friday at Silverstone. Thanks for chatting to us, Havard, as always, and congratulations on second tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. That is Harvard Gullikson, who finishes in second place here tonight. That's a third podium in a row, by the way, and a fifth in the last 6 weeks. Certainly on a good run. James Barry finishes in third place and also joins us now. James, welcome in. Congratulations on a podium run tonight. Couldn't quite get past Harvard at the end. Tell us about that fight and maybe your frustrations at not being able to get through there throughout the race.
Yeah, I mean, not really frustrated. I mean, we were both driving very well and had a really fun battle and have been having a lot of good battles with him recently, not only in this series but in another league that we do in the Radicals, and just been really fun and really respectful fighting. Sadly not for a win, right into Jake for pulling that off, and I was very close to pole, so that's kind of a bit of consolidation for me at least. And then yeah, just really enjoyed the battle, and it is what it is at this track. It's hard to pass, but it's really enjoyable. There's a real test of endurance and a real test of precision every lap, just fighting to get close to the guy ahead and have a chance to overtake, so it was really good fun.
Yeah, we just spoke to Howard about the overall iRacing standings as well. I wanted to get your thoughts on it because Howard mentioned obviously Andre Castro, who's got some gaining to do if he's at all of the final weeks of the season. But he was mentioning that he might just be 1 or 2 points in front of you by the end of the, or at the moment. Obviously, it needs to correct itself as the weeks go on. But where do you see the overall iRacing standings lying with yourself currently at the top of them? Where do you think it's all going to land?
He's a lot more than 1 or 2 points ahead of me at the moment, and he's if you look at all of these the high SOF broadcasts, he's beaten me in every single one so far, I think. So I mean, apart from last week, but last week we didn't have a high SOF, so it won't really matter in the end. So it you know, is what it is with the SOFs and how they work. But he's been beating me, and fair play to him. It's been really fun trying to beat him, and then Andre's on another level, but he's obviously busy with other stuff. But at the current rate, he'd only need to do a couple more weeks, and he'll be good, I think, for the championship if he keeps winning like he was.
Well, yeah, we'll see indeed about that. But tonight, James, congratulations on getting to a podium, and thanks again for chatting to us at the end.
Yeah, cheers, guys. Hope you enjoyed. See you later.
Thanks very much, James Barry there, third place here tonight from Laguna Seca. That just about does it here in the Radical Esports Cup here on Racebot TV and the iRacing YouTube channel as well. Make sure you join us again, by the way, on Racebot TV for more Radical Sim Racing racing coming up at the weekend. But next week on a Friday, it is the Silverstone racetrack, and the first in a double header of Grand Prix circuits with Montreal to come after that. May 15th will be live 2100 GMT as always with that. But as I say, on Sunday night at 9 p.m. Central European time, 8 p.m. in the UK, or 3 p.m. on the east coast of America, it is time for another European Championship round of the Radical Sim Racing Championship. And a few hours later than that, it's time for another America's Championship round. So a double header on Sundays on Racebot TV. If you want to join us for that as well, you'd be more than welcome. Thanks for chatting with us here tonight and watching along. I've been Ian O'Leary alongside J.R. Gregory with remote Augustin Cisneros behind the cameras of this broadcast here tonight. We'll all be back on Friday, indeed, from the Silverstone racetrack for another round of the Radical Esports Cup. Hope to see you then. Until then, though, it's goodbye for now.